It's time for Talkin Tauntauns,
Star Wars discussion podcast from reviews of the latest shows and books to breaking news and thoughtful interviews. Join us as we dive into all things from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am Jim Lahane. Joining me today, hold on, I wanna tee up the appropriate interview introduction, since he can hear it.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Impressive.
Thanks. I pulled that directly from the movie. No adjustments whatsoever. And as you could tell from the voice, it is the wonderful Tom Spina.
The dulcet, nasally tones of Tom Spina, the one and only. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, even if you were honored to have me. It was a good clip, though. That's the out of all the Empire clips you could pick, that's a solid one.
Yeah, I like how you called nasally tones. So when I first started doing this podcast, I'm the one who also does the editing and everything, and so I have to listen to myself.
Oh gosh, the worst.
And when I first started doing this, and I'm like, comic book guy. That's all I hear when I hear myself.
Worst podcast ever. No, not too bad. Not too bad. I think we're all our worst critics when it comes to voice. It never sounds like you do through your head.
Yeah, no.
Like maybe if I could seal my mouth up so my head would become a speaker and everybody could hear it the way I hear it or something, that'd be nicer, but whatever.
I'm deaf. Nobody wants to hear me the way I hear
no.
me. So, how are you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good. It's funny. I always seem to be doing these podcasts at 10 at night. A lot of times, in this case, it's a Sunday night. Not to ruin the magic, anybody who thinks this is happening live while they're in their car driving to work.
Obviously, yes. We're recording. We're presenting to you live whenever you listen to this, and also
That's
the next person.
Exactly how it works. We're AI generated, and
okay, don't go there.
No, I know. Oh boy, but yeah, I always feel like whenever I do these podcasts, that I'm like, am I half dead? Am I three-quarter? Am I mostly dead? Like, what's going on here? Because I try to, in life, I'm a relatively energetic person. I think folks that, anybody who's caught me on one of these shows.
You're only 10% dead in real life.
That's correct. Yeah. But I just, especially when there's a video component, I'm glad that's not airing. I just look and I'm like, why do I look that way? Was this, I really got to start scheduling some of these podcasts for the afternoon,
When the light's better, you're like,
oh yeah, don't even get me started on that.
Why can we just turn off the cameras? I'll feel much better.
That's right. Yeah. I'll do mine in the dark. It's funny. I've done a few podcasts where some of the hosts, and it's sometimes you get these ones where it's the Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch open, and there's 9 different hosts, and I swear one of the guys is in Witsec or is in an undisclosed location in a hotel room somewhere. It's pitch black except for a pin light just hitting one eyeball, and you're like, what's going on? All right, I guess it's really important we talk about the Rancor with that guy,
He went out of his way to be there.
He came out of his undisclosed location, but only just that one eye. But yeah, that's the joys of late night podcasting.
Yes. Well, that's whenever we can get you, we're happy to have you.
No, and I appreciate it. We always have a good time chatting, and we actually, we have a few things that sort of cross into the Tauntaun. They cross the Tauntaun Rubicon, as it were. And,
yes.
I know you originally hit me up when we put out. I guess this would have been. I think you figured it out. It was July.
Back in July. I get So I registered to your Regal Robot emails, which sends out the new releases about once a week or so ish.
Yeah, it's like it used to be once a month, and there was once every other week. Now it's relatively weekly, just because we have so much going. But it is, look, you have done a very wise thing getting on that email. So like, I think if anybody's listening and thinks like, I'd like to be like Jim, how could I do that? They could go to regalrobot.com and they could scroll down, and on every page there's a place where you can just throw your email in. And like once a week, we'll tell you something new and cool that we're doing. And some people like it. You might try it, and who knows?
That's the pitch part of the episode.
That's right. Thanks very much, everyone. That's my new. I went to the you never know school of sales. Like, you want a tauntaun? Never know. Could be nice.
You should see how this vacuum sucks. So back to the Tauntauns.
Yes.
Back in July, I get an email from like Regal Robot, as I said, and it is the skull of a Tauntaun.
We're sorry.
And I don't know if you know our shtick here. We're kind of Tauntaun friendly, and you're sending me.
So this is like an intervention for me. You brought me on to find out, like, what's wrong with you?
But the problem is, I'm also a paleontologist.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, it's a skull of a tauntaun. Am I mortified or am I in love?
Right. That's exactly the line we try and walk with every one of our products. We want every single customer to ask that exact question. Am I completely mortified or am I passionately in love with this? And we hope that a lot of them fall on the in love side of the equation.
I thought you were going to go, we hope people are mortified. But
that's right. We hope we hope you're mortified. Just right across the top of the site. Welcome to Regal Robot. We hope you're mortified.
I know now. I know my review. Mortified, but still a happy customer.
That's right. Outstanding.
So, going back to the
so we
disembodied head.
We tickled both the tauntaun and paleontologist bone at the same time. I like it.
I guess in general of your skulls, what are your processes for coming up with these? Because like I know skulls and skulls of animals. People don't seem to realize this, especially seeing skulls in the Halloween aisle. Like you can tell it's a dog,
right?
And the reason you could tell it's a dog is because of the ears. Dogs don't have ears on their skull.
Yeah, exactly. I always laugh at those.
You
know what, though? You're hitting on exactly the right question. Because when we looked, so we started the whole skull thing years ago with the mythosaur skull. At the time, we had to call it a Mandalorian skull because mythosaur was technically not canon when it happened. So it was...
I have one of them. It used to be right there. I'm not sure where it is right now.
But yeah, so like that skull, when we put it out, we were like, well, fans are going to want it to be called a mythosaur. And they're like, you can't do it. But when they reset the canon, and everything became legends, mythosaur wasn't in the canon anymore. So it wasn't until the first season of Mandalorian when they said the word mythosaur that we were like, oh, yes, we can finally call it that. And that was done by my friend Mio Nakamura, who's an effects artist, works a lot with Steve Wang, brilliant effects artist as well. And she had done a small version of it, and we worked with her to do the big version as well. And then we did a new interpretation of it, kind of a mid-size that Steve Richter sculpted at the shop. And that one did well, and everybody kind of gravitated towards it. And it felt like for me, I always love when you can take something that's shown in the movie and put it out there in a different way. Like that skull, you only ever saw it as a two-dimensional, black on gold or whatever logo, I guess it was clear on red on yellow, kind of how it was done. But it's interpreting that two-dimensional thing into a three-dimensional actual skull, I thought was really fun. And so we said, okay, what's we should do some more of these. What else can we do? And we decided we did, I believe the Mudhorn was probably next because that was a big deal in the Mando universe. And because the signet was the skull, it really made sense as a follow-up to the Mythosaur. It's like, oh, wow, this is really kind of the same thing. So we did that. We did a wall version for a little while. Now we have the little mini version. After that, we decided to do a Rancor. And we chose the Rancor for the exact reason you were saying, because you could recognize it as a Rancor when we were done with it.
Yeah, because
And
I was saying, it's like some skulls, like you look at the animal and most people would be hard pressed to tell. Like if you're looking at a horse skull, a lot of people are like, it's really difficult to tell.
Or an elephant skull, that just looks like some kind of crazy alien,
Well, get paleontology into it. The myth of the Cyclops came from pygmy elephants they found pygmy elephants dead, obviously dead, the bones of them, and they didn't know what they were, and the big nasal cavity in the front made it they thought was an eye. And so since it was like this weird shape with the big hole in the front, that's where the Cyclops came from.
That's amazing. That's outstanding. But so luckily a Rancor, though, when you pull his skin off, at least according to us, you could still tell it's a Rancor. Is it a little bit of the target dog version of a Rancor skull? Maybe a little. Maybe there's some cheats in there to make sure people recognize it. My favorite is the deep cut. We did the bird skull logo from the prototype Boba Fett costume, the pre-Pro 2 costume.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Where he didn't have the Mythosaur, he had that little bird skull. So we did a little version of that. That's still available. And now we're on to the Tauntauns. And Mio came back to do the sculpts on the Tauntauns. She did it in one scale, and then Christian Maggi at our shop, we 3D scanned it, and he scaled it up to make the wall-sized one, and he scaled it down to make the palm-sized one. And those, they went up for sale originally in July. They are still available for folks that want them. And in fact, the small skulls are going to start shipping this week. We just got a couple of pallets of them unpacked on Friday, and they look amazing. And we're very anxious to start sending some of them home because there's a lot of them, and they're taking up room.
Yeah, the sculpture on these is amazing. Like like you zoom in and it looks like a skull. Like it has like well, obviously that's what you're going for, but the textures are skull like, and like where it has the horn, essentially protrusions on its head, they look like they would on a real skull, like horns. And it's
she does her research, man. I mean, and we all do. Like we did, it's not just like, oh, look at this Star Wars thing and then guess at what the skull would look like. It's look at the Star Wars thing and try and think of analogs in real life, and I know Mio was looking at things like deer skulls and stuff like that at one point.
I could see that. It's got around the nose, it's got a deer skull reminiscent, and you got the suture patterns up the middle.
Love those. Yep. Yeah. And when you get up close, and this goes for like even like the Rancor and stuff like that, you have areas that have sort of thinner areas that have like fissures and lines on them. And then you have broader areas that have pitting and give you that very like sort of porous bone kind of vibe to it. Yep. You have the cranial sutures, which we love. You have the big, deep crevices and gaps on the jaw area for the Rancor to allow those big jaw muscles to come through because he's got such a powerful jaw set. The one probable cheat that we have on the Rancor is that those little kind of fins around the bottom corners of his jaw in the front, we represented with a bit of bone. In my mind, those would probably be fleshy or something like that in real life. But, you do what you can. But the Rancor also has like ridiculously asymmetrical teeth. And so as soon as you put that in and that sort of like underbite chomp down with those crazy teeth going in 5 different directions, it really does start to tell the story.
That's it. Yeah, like you're right. The wobbles the turkey bubbles.
Yeah, like those would not be bones.
I swear they have a name, but I don't know what they are.
Yeah, it's not jowls. It's more than jowls. But we'll call them wubbles. It's because that's what you want the biggest, scariest monster in the Star Wars universe to have. Wubbles. So there I was, and he had me in his claws, and he brought me up to his mouth, and I jammed a bone in his mouth, and his little wubbles went wubble, wubble, as I fell to the ground.
It was so cute.
You should have seen him when the door hit him. Anyway, how was your weekend? Sir, this is a McDonald's. Luke is just waiting to order, Anyway.
And the train has derailed.
Yeah. But we did them in the small scale, which is like 5 inches or so. And then we also did this like 16-inch, 14-inch wide giant one that goes on a wall. It's not quite life-size to a Tauntaun because Tauntauns are much bigger than people think. But it's huge, and it looks like if you don't have a full-size Tauntaun in the room with you, you assume it's right.
Well, that's what I was actually wondering, because the large one, you're right, like the Tauntaun head, I imagine would be just about the same size as our head. Like it's like maybe a little bit longer, but height-wise.
It's the one on the wall is bigger. And like a real Tauntaun is just, it's massive. Like, I mean, from tip of the horn to tip of the horn, you're like 24 to 26 inches or something like that. From not tip of the horn, but like the outside, if you measured straight across the widest point on a Tauntaun, it's in that like 24, 26 inch range. The heads they're really huge. The eyeballs are like baseballs,
Okay. Well, you also had done the complete disembodied neck.
Yes.
Up.
Yeah. They're working on a series of 5 of those right now in the shop. It's always cool when they have those going. So, one of the things that's great about our New York studio is you're dealing with people who are doing, production work on our Regal Robot stuff, but also in the same studio with restoration of original movie props and working on mannequins and doing costumes and doing creature work and stuff like that. So you're getting people who are doing and or immersed in the type of work that's done to make these things for the films. And so like when we were developing that Tauntaun, we got so I had previously, we had restored a couple of Tauntauns originals. One was just a face, and one was like a sort of face and neck. And we had gotten, so obviously just from that alone, you have a certain amount of information. But then we also had gotten a casting. So during the production of the film, Stuart Freeborn's team had made what I would call a snap. It was a plaster casting of the head and neck of a Tauntaun, but it was early in the sculpt. It was all the forms, everything was in the right place, everything was the right size, but it wasn't textured yet. And the story that we had heard about this was that they took that snap mold, somebody was sculpting this thing. They did a quick mold and then made a plaster copy so that while that guy was finishing that, people could start working on hair patterns and stuff like that. And when you're doing a movie, or anything with a deadline, that's the kind of thing that saves a lot of time. And so we had a fiberglass copy of that. And from that, we were able to make a clay press, which basically gave us a malleable version of that. And we then refined it and textured it and made it match all of this amazing reference that we had from behind the scenes and everything. And so that's the sculpt of ours. And the best part is we did it for Mandalorian season 2 and Book of Boba Fett, because they were recreating Jabba's palace. And they had hired us to make a life-size Tauntaun and a
the one on the
Jerba.
wall.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you go to the Tom Spina Designs site and search Tauntaun, that project will come up. And it was a team effort. We made in very short time frame the Tauntaun and the Jerba. And we had been planning to do the Tauntaun for Regal. So luckily that came along. It really kicked us into high gear. So the people who are getting our life-sized realistic Tauntauns that we do, again, it's about 3 feet tall or so. It's from the maybe 40 inches from mid neck on up. You're getting something that was molded off of an original production piece from Empire, and then our new mold was what was used for Book of Boba Fett and that new Jabba's Palace. So anybody who's getting one of these, you're getting that double lineage on this, and it's being made by the same bunch of people in the same studio that did it for Book of Boba. So to me, it's when we do those, we're doing them like 5 at a time, and it's just made like the way you would do it for a movie. Like it's not productized at all. It's actually kind of challenging to make them because we didn't make them with production in mind.
Yeah, no, you have. I pulled up a photo. You have a photo with you next to the life-size Tauntaun, and it looks significantly bigger than the skull itself.
Oh,
But when you
big.
just have the skull, but I like the front-on view. The Tauntaun kind of has a glazed over look, and I think you do too. Like
often, yeah.
It's like, oh, they have matching expressions.
Yeah, it's funny. What we go for on those is he does have a little bit of like a mournful look or something like that. But that is the look of a Tauntaun. It's like this friendly sadness. Like they
I
never
know many people I would classify as that. You kind of have a friendly sadness look about you.
What I mean is you're like a Tauntaun.
Like a Tauntaun.
How bad do you smell on the outside? But yeah, it really
it's worse on the inside.
That's right. But you have to capture a little of that in the eyes. Like the eye placement is something we place them manually each time. Like there's again no production planning on this. It's not like we have forms that things just pop in. It's like you put the eyes in, you have to move them around and get them to match, and you have to make sure if you put them too low, he looks excited or wild. You put him too high, he looks sleepy because now the lids are covering half the irises. So it really, there is, whenever they're doing them, they line up a bunch of them and then they call me in the back and they're like, okay, eye check, and I come in and I'm like, raise that eye, lower this one, pop that one down. That guy's good. That guy's good. Okay, bye.
I cannot afford one of these life-size Tauntauns, but if I did, I would want him to look surprised.
We could discuss that. Yeah, that's custom options available. But yeah, would you go for? So this is a good question because we offer it both with no snow, kind of like a text or anything, and with frozen, melted, kind of like icy snow all over them. And the rains come on that one as well, which is a little more of like a snapshot of the film. But it's a hotly debated thing whenever it comes up. So I'm just curious, where would you fall on that debate? If you won the lottery and you said, oh, I'm going to buy 2 of these Tauntauns for either side of my fireplace, what style are you getting?
Since you're in New York, I would want to see them in person. But
sure.
Based on the photos, because you have photos of both of them on here,
yeah,
I like the snow.
So do I. I am 100% team snow, but we get people who, for whatever reason in their, the story of their space doesn't allow for it because maybe maybe they're bringing it into a themed room or something. And they're like, well, no, the theme of the room is it's, the back bar in Tatooine or something like that. You can't have snow in there. So it takes you out of the story. And I'm like, I mean, that's a fair answer. But it's always interesting to me to hear people debate that.
Yeah, I think I like the look of it better because you're also dealing with something that looks like it's supposed to be in the movie. And so that's where I'm
I
sorry.
mean, even
Nobody
when they
thinks
were
of
in Echo
Jabba's
Base,
palace.
they were matted
Yeah.
down and all that. Yeah, I guess Jabba's palace is the one exception, but
But nobody thinks of Jabba's palace when they think of a tauntaun,
no.
except maybe you.
Yeah. Wah, 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 wah. Oh,
But yeah.
so,
So tied to the tauntaun,
mhm. Oh, another recent release, eh?
yes, we have the disembodied head
Oh,
of
God. He'd appreciate that.
of the creator of the tauntaun, Phil Tippett.
It's, it's funny. We started a line called Regal Icons. And the idea with that line is mini bronze busts they're faux bronze so that they're only $49 each or so. Or, some of them are going to be a little more because there may be more involved in things. But the idea was to come up with like the adult version of Star Wars. Like, what's a thing that you could have that would be either Star Wars or nerdy or music or whatever, and you could put it on a shelf in your living room and no one would second guess it. Now, granted, my living room is not quite the same as a normal person's living room, so I can get away with whatever. But
I have
you know, a
lots of
lot of
disembodied heads.
yeah. When I first moved into the house, I was working on the space where I currently display all my masks and props. And there was an alcove in the living room that literally was rows of shelves with about maybe 20 different rubber mask disembodied monster heads. So yeah, I'm right there. But the little, so they're like 7 inches tall. They're beautifully bronze finished. They've got a patina, everything. They're sculpted to look like classical bronze sculptures. When you get up close on the Regal Icons line, you see tool marks, you see clay smear, and all of this stuff. They're done digitally. Christian Maggi at our studio did them. Darren Pattenton worked on the Tarkin initially, and then Christian did the finish work on it. But the Christian brings this like classical look to them, and it captures that faux bronze so beautifully. So we started with a lineup of about 5 different pieces. The first two that wound up being released were Star Wars related. It was Regal icons of Star Wars, and you had Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia. Those are both still available on the site right now. We sold through our initial run of Tarkins, but we had more going. And the follow-up, which I had kind of warned people about early on, was not going to be a Star Wars. It was it's something that we did actually with Phil himself. And so this is the Regal Icons of Special Effects line. We have more planned for this. And Phil is our debut on that. And it's a really cool sculpt by Christian. It is, we debated what era of Phil to go with. And we kind of went with his sort of wise but grumpy old man era, which is his current era.
So how long did he sit there as you painted the rubber on his face? Like breathe through the straw.
This was all done from photos. But if we had to, we would have 3D scanned him, so it'd be quicker. But yeah,
it's not as fun.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got a life cast somewhere. I feel like he would have to. But yeah, it's he's got this great sort of Darwin-esque, kind of look, Socrates maybe, like you could put that on your desk at work and no one's going to know who that is but you and, some very select nerds.
But nobody's probably even going to question.
No, nobody would.
Who is
but
that?
I love that. Like, I love Stealth Geek. I love things that if you had that on your desk and I walked by your desk, I would see it and I would look and I'd give you the Boba Fett nod from like Jabba's palace when Boosh pulls out the detonator, and he just says, uh-huh. I see what you did. That to me is always the best kind of collectible. It's like the collectible that can hide in plain sight. And that's what this whole line is. And so, yeah, it's going to be exciting to do some more of those. I feel like Phil is someone who, we have been lucky enough to work with a bunch of times. I've been lucky enough to get to know him, consider him a friend. I get to see him and hang out and stuff. And I've picked his brain way more than I know he would like. And he's but he's someone that has a depth of knowledge that it may be among the highest of anyone I know. And I mean, and I know some, and I'm not talking like, I don't mean this immodestly. I actually mean this out of my own humility, but I know some people I consider to be freaking genius people. But Phil is learned on so many topics and so well read and has such depth that and beside that is just unbelievably visionary and creative. And to see just to be around him and see sparks of that. I was at his studio. We were doing some restoration work on some things there years ago, and he was working on Mad God stuff, puttering around the place, just making little monsters and parts and set pieces and stuff, and just like doing what moved him. And to see that was really cool. And then, just other times talking with him and seeing him, talk about an idea or try and kind of make a little sketch of something where he's explaining some idea to us, or, watching him try and work through a problem in his head. It's amazing. And he's, someone I just respect the hell out of, and felt worthy of this treatment.
That's it. He is like, before we had started recording, I brought it up quickly, the Light and Magic documentary.
Yeah.
I know Nicole and I, like, we absolutely loved we haven't watched the second half of it, the new episodes, but in the first half, like, just like Phil throughout them is like, this guy's just amazing. Like,
and that he carried on past that with Tippett Studio, and moved into the digital age and took, it's like the best digital people are the ones with that foundation in practical. And to have his foundation in a digital studio is just, and then now that they're still doing stop motion, and that you have them coming back for seasons of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and Skeleton Crew and all of that stuff. Like, it's just,
they did the crab, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah. The big like trash crab. That I got to see that model at his shop, and it was insane. I think they said it was one of the if it wasn't the largest, it was the heaviest stop motion model that had ever been made.
Yes, I heard that. And they had to like make a special like frame just to like hold the thing up.
Like a rig to support the thing while they moved it. It was nuts to see in person. It was really, really cool. And, built practically, but with digital elements and with 3D printed parts, and using that to move things along and keep costs in check and to keep time in check. And, just like literal best of all worlds approaches over there. And, like, isn't that what creativity is about? It's don't let the method hold you up. It's the vision that matters.
Yeah. It's Tom's like, I'm just gonna kind of sneak this in my pocket like that. Right. Don't steal the trash crab.
Fall over because it's the heaviest stop motion puppet ever made. Oh, my back.
So I guess I wanted to talk about some of your other new stuff, because, like I said, you have tons of new things that just
we've been busy.
I get inundated with emails with a new, like, I think you sent out like an email, and then you sent out a retraction email like, no, that's an old new thing. This is a new thing that that was from. I'm like, so you have so many new things, you're sending out the wrong new thing emails.
Yeah, that was a glitch in the email hosting service that day. Oh, that was not great. But yeah, it's, we've still been doing things like the maquette line, the Return of the Jedi maquettes, which has a lot of Phil content as well. We've been doing some of our Indiana Jones stuff. We just released the Last Crusade prop, the Leap of Faith painting, and stuff like this. When we're talking about the maquettes, the prop replicas, all of that, this is stuff we're going to the Lucasfilm archives. We are scanning, 3D scanning the original stuff. We're doing extensive photos. We're taking, Pantones and color matches of things. We're bringing swatches of materials and paint in to compare. So we spend a lot of time making sure that like there's a faithfulness and authenticity to what we're doing. And we really like we carry that through even the small stuff. But when it comes to the big stuff, that's where we go into like the nth degree, it's figuring out the right amount of spatter paint on something or the right pearlescent clear coat that something needs because the paint alone doesn't give it the sparkle that the original has or something like that. Deconstructing how these things were made is such a fun challenge. And it is something we probably spend, the most of my day seems to be spent on that kind of stuff. It's probably split. There's plenty of business stuff. There's always contract and Disney stuff, but there's it is an unending list of infinitesimally small questions about each of these pieces. It's like, hey, we just dyed up the tauntaun hair. Do we have to relax the curl a little more? Like that kind of level. Where it's like, I think a lot of other shops would just be like, I know, it's a tauntaun, good enough, Like,
I should point out, when you originally said the leap of faith painting, I thought it was like the full-size floor.
Oh God, that would be amazing. No, it's the one from Henry's house.
Did you? It's
with the
just
medieval
like
knights falling and stuff.
It's just a strip of rock.
That's right. Yeah. How great is that as like a reveal and an effect when they do that camera move? It kind of sways over to the side and comes back, and you can see the little perspective change. Oh, so good. I get chills from stuff like that.
I'm still in the mindset of where he just kind of steps out onto it going, you could have just reached over and tapped it.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of flinging your like it would have still been there if you just tapped it.
Or the sand trick that apparently you knew because you do that 10 seconds later.
The sand trick seemed to work pretty well after you did it.
That was also really cool. That was a nice touch. I'm sure that was one of those things put in there in the movie later because somebody was like, oh wait, how are Elsa and Donovan going to know about that? We got to make sure that Indy does something so that when they come back, they know what they're looking for. I don't know that for a fact, but I would not be surprised if that was like a studio note that came in later or something that George and Steven hit on.
Please add breadcrumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, we have a couple of upcoming indie props that are so for us. We have this thing. It's called Uniquely Regal Robot now, where we list kind of 6 main things that try to encapsulate us, our team, our fans, what we're doing, and one of those words is unexpected, and that to me is like where we like to live, and that's probably my favorite out of all of them. And so upcoming next, it's like we have a Raiders of the Lost Ark prop, and it's the nunchuck looking hanger that Tote menaces Marion with in the tent.
Okay, yeah.
And everybody thinks it's some torture device, and then he hangs his coat on it.
Yes.
The Tote coat. And so that was one of the earliest things when we got the license. I was like, we have to, I've never seen anybody do it right. We had good pictures of it from the producer of the movie. I said, this is something that has to happen. And so that was really one of those like, oh, okay, here's our chance to do something unexpected. And that to me is like just super cool. So those come out early November. We have a bronze icons bust of Tote as well coming out the same day, and it is 2-sided. So if you face him one way, he is screaming, and if you
Oh.
face him the other way, he is melting, and he's a skull, and his glasses are all askew, and it's really cool.
So you also have your knowledge of Jabba the Hutt random background aliens is probably one of the best out there. I know Pablo is also up there. I could not even tell you what movie some of these things are from. The Toadstool Terror.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a cobra, sort of.
Yeah, it's got a little of that, sure.
What is this even from?
So it's from Return of the Jedi. It was built as a full-scale puppet. The full-scale puppet they thought looked less like a toadstool or a cobra and more like a big wonton, so they called him the Wonton Terror. And
he's
so
spicy and filling.
I believe it's got the name. The official name is Loge, Loje. And if you go to Wikipedia, they've got all kinds of info. But he does turn up, or she does turn up in the movie. It was a big hand puppet, and it's in like one shot when in the special edition where they're panning across, and he's just in the shadows against a pylon or something. There's some great behind the scenes photos. There's a nice behind the scenes shot of him between Max Rebo and Droopy McCool, and it was something that was a sketch by Joe Johnston that Judy Elkins, who also created Yak Face, who I imagine Yak Face, you know, at least.
Oh, yeah, I know Yak Face. I know Ifant Mon, who is also on that list there.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
I know
Which
this
was a Phil sculpt, and based on Platybelodon, I think he said, if you want to bring your paleontologist stuff into this, it is an elephant that has that same scooped out mouth like that.
So that I didn't know, but that is useful information. I may
like
come back to that.
Phil is a just unending source of information, and that was something he volunteered. He was like, "Yeah, I like this sort of prehistoric beast. It was called a Platybelodon. Kind of had this sort of thing." And when you look at it, you're like, "Oh yeah, there it is." But anyway, Toadstool, Judy Elkins sculpted the maquette, and then Judy Elkins sculpted the full size when George picked it to be one of the creatures in Jabba's palace. Yeah, and then of course Ifant Mon, that was recent. I think Ifant Mon, there's still like very few left, like 5 or 6 left in that edition. If you want the Phil Tippett signature one, they're really freaking cool. They're giant for the maquettes anyway. They're really big. They're like 13 inches tall. You've got all this distressing on the cloak. Everything's done by hand, a bunch of stitching. There's roughed up edges on everything. He's got hair, he's got paint. It really is. It's like that's one of those pieces that really tests the crew, because luckily they can meet that test because this is the stuff they do. But like you couldn't put that into a regular factory somewhere.
Yeah,
uniquely crafted, as we like to say.
That's what I know most of your stuff centers around the OT. Occasionally you'll go outside, like you've done some Mandalorian stuff, because that has a lot of OT feel to it too.
Sure, yeah.
Have you, for some reason, I feel like you guys might have, but I feel like we may have talked about this before, the statues from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, yeah. Love those.
Those are probably my favorite.
So, you're talking about those sort of like very deco looking style.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because you have those other ones outside the Senate, the giant standing statues. This really cool chipped stone kind of vibe. They're metallic, but they have a really neat texture.
The Art Deco one, like the 4 that Palpatine has. And I'm those statues, if anything, I would have one of those in my life-size version of that in my house. There's 2 of
those in the big theater at Skywalker Sound. They're 2 of the ones from the film. They're really, really cool.
So those I feel are up
I love those.
Your alley for
sure.
Prop replicas, because I like that, like looking at the stuff and I'm like, those statues
just
are
not the run-of-the-mill every day that you can get from anywhere else. We never want to be just another statue studio. We want to have stuff that is unique to us, that are things that other companies either couldn't do or wouldn't do. And uh, you know, here's the thing. These are, even the prequels now have been around for decades, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that's been done. And people don't need another Stormtrooper statue or another Darth Vader bust or whatever. And, does that mean we'd never do something like that? I wouldn't say it, but, to me, there's so much left to explore. Like,
why waste your
tread
time
the
on
same
something
path?
that everyone else is doing when you can do something
Yeah.
that nobody else is doing?
Well, and give people something that they never thought they could have, And I mean, that kind of nicely leads into, by the time people are listening to this tomorrow, which, we had we had talked about this for a long time. Years ago, we did a little set for a desk that is the space slug coming out of an asteroid, and it's got a little place to put some paper clips and stuff, and you put your pens in the space
long
slug's
time
mouth.
ago.
Yes.
That was a long time ago. I remember that
Yeah.
because wasn't that one of your like original things?
It was like, it was very, very early. It was like second or third year that we had the license. And on the end of the pencil that comes with it is a little Millennium Falcon pencil topper. So when we did that, we actually 3D scanned the original prop puppet, which is huge. By the way, people have no idea how big that puppet is. Everybody assumes it's like an oven mitt, And
I was waiting to throw in the oven mitt joke, but we haven't gotten there yet. So you jumped the gun.
So the original puppet, pardon me, is oh gosh, it's in the neighborhood of like 32, 33 inches long. If you put your arm in it,
I'm trying to figure out how much is 32.
Yeah.
So about 3 feet, a little less than 3 feet.
So the trick is the mechanism is actually back like by the eye stalks behind the mouth, like kind of in a grip. So you're not going all the way to the end of that. You're going about 2 feet in. But even 2 feet in is like the bulk of an adult male's arm. So, this puppet is just huge, and it's got this great level of detail on it. It's got this fill sculpted in all these cracks and crevices, the way like you would see a scarred whale, and it's painted with like this grayish skin with pink undertones coming through in all of those crevices. And it really just looks like, the only thing I could say is like a whale. Like it's got that vibe to it. The mouth has this crazy texture on the tongue like nothing I've ever seen. The teeth are all mucked up and, gnarly. He's got these little eye stalks and everything. And the whole thing is covered in these little bumps, which is a great Phil Tippett technique. He used that on some of the Cantina aliens where he would take latex and a toothpick and just drop little drops of latex on things to make bumps everywhere.
The picture, so going back to the scale of this thing, I'm scrolling through the photos, and the only photo that you really have of one of the workers in behind
that's Rob behind it. Yeah.
It is obscenely larger than you're right I was expecting.
Yeah.
It looks like he can crawl into this thing.
There's probably some perspective going on there with the lens. But it is on that base that it's on there. It's 34 inches long to the back of the base, and it's 15 plus inches to the top of the slug from the floor. The slug itself, if you go on the back of it, it's the size of a record. It's like 12 and a half, 12 and 3/4 inches. So it's actually bigger than a record. Look, kid, like this is
like, do we
I'm
need to
give
describe
you
what a
the most
record
modern
is?
references, okay? Now, first, kids, get out your Victrola, and then you're going to take one of these fancy dancy wax tools. But anyway, it's over 12 inches in diameter in the back. It really
Which,
is
coincidentally enough, is also the size of a record. If you know what that is.
That's where my head went. Yeah. It's like, but as a kid, I bought, and rest in peace, Ace, I bought every Kiss record that came out just for the album art, and it's like, and then the music was kind of cool, but like, oh man, I just remember going to record stores and flipping through the albums and literally just by the art on the cover, that's all you had to go on. You had no idea what was in there. It was wild. What a time. Anyway, I digress, clearly.
What's a record? Is it like a CD? What's
it's
a
like
CD?
A CD, except somehow less fragile. I don't understand. But it's the big slug is big. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool to make a replica of that full size? And then we thought, if we do that, we better do a scaled down version too, because nobody's going to have room for this. So we're doing a very, very limited run of the big one. We have Phil Tippett and Doug Beswick, who coincidentally both worked on the Tauntauns. Doug worked on the armatures, I believe, with Tom Spina, and Phil did the animating and did the sculpting on it. On the slug, Doug did the mechanisms and Phil did the sculpt. Both of them signed the plaque for it, and that's going to be a numbered, limited dual signature edition of 100 pieces, and then that's it. So if you do want to get one of those, go early. The other piece, because we didn't know what the market's going to be on the scaled version, and we didn't want to shortchange it, we're doing a timed edition. So basically, starting tomorrow at noon, Tuesday the 28th, for 1 week.
I'm like, don't just say tomorrow.
Yeah.
So this is coming out on the 28th.
Oh, okay. So today, oh my God, people, hurry up, get to Regal Robot right now.
Well, it could come out the 27th. What day do you want this to come out?
We'll do the 27th if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we can do it.
Give people a little time to get excited.
All right. So this is coming out on October 27th, 2025 for people listening in the future. You missed this. But if you're listening in the past, then you have time.
That's right. Oh my God. If you're a time traveling listener, so
what time is it?
So on October 28th of 2025, for those of you deep in the past or far in the future, our space slugs are both going to become available. The big one, like I said, limited edition, just 100 pieces. So the scaled one, it's a 60% scale piece, and we gave it a kind of a little diorama setting where it's got a chunk of the asteroid, and it's pretty well replicated from the sort of crater that he comes out of as well.
It looks reminiscent of your cup holder.
Yeah, it's got that vibe to it, and we've got the turn going in the right direction, like that in the movie. And for the small slug, we even gave it a little Millennium Falcon.
Yes,
but they're both from that same scan. The only difference, other than that we reposed it a little bit, is on the small slug, we gave him a better detailed upper palette because you could see it better. And on the movie prop version, the upper palette is like lots of drips of glue and things like that. And on our big one,
one gets on their upper palette.
Of course, isn't that how your upper palette gets? Sir, go
Stop
see a
looking.
doctor. But on our big one, we actually have that sort of chunky texture up there, and we did. We kind of captured some of it from the scan and some we had to resculpt, but we created the look of that, like the dribbles of glue in the sculpt. We made it a little more practical, but the big one is very, very faithful to the original, and the small one is 90% faithful. And then we just refined that upper palette so that people didn't look at it and go, what are they doing?
Why you missed a spot?
Yeah, exactly. But they're really cool. They're super fun. I'm excited to see how they do. Anytime we have releases like these, it's like, I know what we like, but we're weirdos, like. So are there going to be other weirdos out there that want to bring this home? By the way, if you want scale, if you scroll down, there's a side-by-side of the small slug, the scaled version, next to a screenshot. And in the screenshot, you can see like Phil's hand or something on the side of it.
Yes, that's
Look at
I
how
saw
big
that.
that head is compared to the hand. Like,
Yes, you could
that is
just
not an
yeah,
oven
you
mitt.
just see one hand sticking up through the hole in
Yeah.
the moon,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
which just goes to show you how much of a giant Phil is, because then you have the Millennium Falcon and it's tiny. So
it's
Phil
really
is
small. It's like the size of a thumbnail. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So Phil is a monster.
He really is. Yeah, he's that's why he was so into King Kong. It was just like, someone I can relate to, you know.
It's just my cousin.
My slightly less hairy cousin. Wait, what? No, never mind. So anyway, but yeah, so these come out tomorrow. This is the thing that our brain's been, tied up with for a while now. And what's funny is by the time one of these gets to release, we're in the depth of like trying to get across to people what we did, and when you have things where there's two different scales or something like that, it's like, I don't want people thinking, oh, I buy it and I get both, or like, oh, they buy the small one and they expect it to be giant or something like that. So we spend a lot of time like figuring all that out and trying to make sure that we're being, honest with people and making very, very clear website posts and stuff. But then, we've got to be thinking ahead too. So we're already, my mind is split right now. It is partially doing Tom Spina design stuff where we have, some big museum jobs and a bunch of mannequin work and some sculpting going on. Then we're talking Regal's current production, things like, these slugs, the cherubim from the Ark of the Covenant, the Tauntaun skulls, the icons, all of that stuff that's already out. And then the other part is like somewhere in 2026 right now, and thinking about, oh, who's our next icons of special effects, and is that ready to go? We do have a prequel maquette coming out next year that we announced, and that's the Clone Trooper.
Okay.
And, so we just worked out the signature edition for that. And so now we've got to look at timing for that. We've announced that we're doing a Raiders of the Lost Ark hat based on one in the archives. We've announced we're doing the Raiders idol with the glass eyes, like the actual hero idol, not just a generic old idol. And there's, oh gosh, so much more in the works. And this is why I don't just go in for the Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Stormtrooper stuff, because, we could play around in the periphery of the OT and the prequel trilogy for decades and never get to all of it,
Yeah.
And so I am in no rush to sort of move to the center, as it were. I love the weirdos. I love the stuff on the sides. I love the things in the background. I love the heroes behind the scenes and celebrating them and putting them out there, whether that's in a signature edition or our sketch editions that we do with them, and shining a spotlight on some unsung heroes like Judy Elkins and people like that as well. To me, that is what makes Star Wars special, that it can support that decades later, we can still be digging in around the sides and have a huge future potential ahead of us. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, no, couldn't have said it any better. Like, I think I love what you guys are doing. I've always loved what you guys are doing, because it's unique, and like for me, this is just stuff that I want stuff out of the ordinary. I want things that nobody else has seen or not many people have seen, and they kind of come in and go, "That's kind of cool. Where what's that from?"
Yeah, what is that? Yeah. Well, and sometimes, small additions, so you have that additional sort of specialness that comes with having something that not a lot of other people have even. We're doing things sometimes, gosh, we've done editions 40, 50 pieces sometimes, 100 pieces. I try to think about most licensed product. it's in the thousands, it's in the tens of thousands. And here we are with things, in the hundreds or 100 or half that. To
Which
me,
is,
that's
what's that? 50.
yeah. But I mean, imagine being one of 50 people in the world with something Star Wars that's official, that's approved, that was scanned off the real prop in the archives, and is the next best thing to having the original prop that no one's ever going to have because it's in the archives. That's what I want to give to people. I want them to have that special feeling. I'm a movie prop collector myself, as well as, masks and toys and stuff like that. But I love the fact that when you get a prop that's in a movie, it's not one of 10,000. It's maybe one of 5, or sometimes it's one of 1 if it's something that's fabricated. And that's just like the coolest feeling in the world, man. And to be able to give people a little of that, and there's a feeling that happens. This goes to an authenticity and faithfulness kind of thing. But there's a feeling that happens when you see an original prop that's used in the movie. So, we spend our days at the shop restoring the original props that were used in these films. And when a replica of something comes in, you get a certain vibe about it. Oh, that's a stormtrooper. Okay. But when an original stormtrooper suit comes in, it immediately is obvious it is not a replica. Like, there is a feel to this stuff. There's roughness around the edges, there's imperfections, there's wear and tear, all of that stuff. But there is a vibe to screen use props. And we see it all the time. And when there's been a few times where someone's asked me to authenticate something, and usually we don't do it as a service or anything like that. But I had a friend who was trying to buy a prop, and it was something I knew a lot about, but had not seen the original piece, and sent me pictures of the thing in a box. And just from the picture, I was like, 100% that's the real deal. I said, I'm going to ask you for more pictures to prove it out. And there's a couple of ways I know we can, some tells to look for in terms of how it was built. But there are just these times where you look at something and immediately you get that feeling. And it's not even something you see, it's just you feel it. And so that's what I go for. I want people to get our Wampa puppet that we did, or these space slugs, or the Tauntauns, or whatever. And open it up and have that feeling of like, did they take the F-Mon maquette out of the archives and pull like an Indiana Jones switch with a fake one, and they sent me the real one by accident? Like, I want people to feel like that. Like, I feel like they should feel like when they get ours, that the only difference between it and the real thing is like 40 years of shelf dust,
Well, if you want 40 years of shelf dust, you should come visit sometime.
We'll start collect. Oh my God! There's our next product is Jarro Dust, and it's got like a sprinkle cap, like a salt shaker, and you just
you got to do a little spray can. Just so
it's like the monsters. Like, what are you doing? I'm dusting. Putting dust on stuff. That would be great. I love that.
There you go. I'll take 5% of all profits.
Fair enough.
Just on the can of dust.
Jim Lahane's can of dust.
Make it seem like it's been sitting in the archives for 40 years.
Exactly. And I should say they do a very good job of keeping things clean, but there's just a lot of the stuff has, since before it was run like a museum, it was just stored. And for years, this stuff was just out on shelves getting covered in dust, and it's just kind of baked in on some of the stuff. But it's weird. There's a vibe to that. So I don't know. There have definitely been times where we've done a maquette or a prop replica, and we looked at it, we're just like, I feel like it needs to just be dirty or something.
Too clean. Do it again. All right. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know it's practically midnight.
Practically. Not too bad. Could be worse. But no, thank you so much for having me on, man. This is always a blast.
Yes, I love talking to you. You are somehow always so full of energy and life, even at 11 o'clock at night.
and this is me half dead, remember? So,
Yes, I know. At 10% dead, you're just off the wall.
That's why I couldn't do a podcast in the middle of the day. I'd just be insufferable. So
that's my base setting.
Yes.
So, give us all the deets on where people can find you and all your stuff.
Sure.
I guess I will have information on the Space Slug in the show notes. As well as links to obviously Regal Robot and Tom Spina Designs, but so
follow those links he gives you and jump on the newsletter for each company. We send out something, but it is not spammy, and it's always something cool that's coming up. And for Regal Robot, we're at Regal Robot everywhere. In particular, we do a lot of stuff on YouTube. We've got a lot of fun shorts. Sam at the studio has been doing been having a little too much fun, I think, actually making the shorts for the YouTube channel. And there's great interviews with Phil Tippett and John Berg and tons of these FX legends that are, just our idols at the shop. So check those out. And then you can follow at Tom Spina Designs everywhere as well. And on that YouTube, there's the extended version of all of those ILM interviews where we talk about not just Star Wars stuff. So they're definitely worth digging into if you like the stuff the way we do.
Awesome. And you can find us on all the social medias except for one. Actually, two. We're not on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. That took me forever to get activated, but that's a completely different story. Find us on our website at talkintauntauns.com. Email us contact@talkintauntauns.com or use the little contact button on the website. Please leave us a 5-star review wherever good, bad, or indifferent reviews are left. And the most helpful thing you could do is share the show with a friend or an enemy or a pet. The pets love us. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Bye.